Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Press Box. Brian Carson here with my co-host Kenny Varner. How you doing, Kenny?
Oh, thawing out here, Brian. This weather's been crazy. It's hard to believe. Last week was 66, and now we're at like 39 degrees. But I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Now I stay in the house all the time, so I'm definitely doing all right. Just an update before we get started here to our Center County listeners. District 6 Class A girls soccer final. Right now in the second half, it's Bishop Guilfoyle 2, Bald Eagle area nothing. So,
Mm.
sorry, Eagles. But let's turn our attention to cross country. The PIAA Championships are up this weekend, Saturday in Hershey, and we are happy to have Juniata cross country coach Jeff Miller. His boys team had another successful year, and then Sylvia Brubaker. Everything is advertised, winning the girls AA race, and now we're preparing for states. Jeff, thank you for being on, buddy. Appreciate it.
Oh, sure.
So it's becoming a tradition here. You know, your boys team winning it almost every year. Another great race. You were one away from having the top five. You had four of the top five. Before we get to Hershey, talk about what you thought of your kids last Saturday at Reedsville at Districts.
That was the best they ran all season. When we needed them most, they pulled through, and they over exceeded what I actually talked to a couple of them about what kind of time I needed them to run. Like Levi, exceeded by 30, 40 seconds. He had been doing soccer a lot this year, so he wasn't really in the best shape, but he really pulled it together mentally to run a tough race. And then Wesley had rolled his ankle about a month ago. So that was a little questionable. I had to really back him down a lot lately. So I didn't know if that ankle would get to him mentally in the race. And he ended up running a good 30 seconds better. So Joey really ended up challenging Wyatt in that race. Wyatt was kind of dominating him most of the year, but Joey sure did make him earn that one.
Yeah.
And then Coy just keeps getting better each week, and so he pulled through and ran his best also. So yeah, it was great to see, because you never know with the pressure and stuff at districts how people were going to perform, but that definitely was their best race. I mean, you can set these guys up for training that they'll be at their best for this, but so much of it's mental too, how much they want it. So yeah, they wanted it, and I knew I tapered them back a little bit so they're a little bit more fresh. But it was the fact that they wanted it, I think, really was what did the most.
I was gonna
a lot of good. I'm sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kenny.
I was say you guys have had a tradition of bringing the teams to Hershey. Would you consider this one of the best performances as a team that you've had so far?
Yeah, I would say we were probably a tad bit better this year at districts. Even Logan was just phenomenal, being the district champ last year and setting district record of all time in all divisions. And that's kind of hard to replace him, but we're doing that gradually with like Coy and Tegan, and then all those guys that were like the top four returnees, they keep getting better too. So yeah, we were probably a little bit better. I'm hoping that we can. Hershey's a challenging race down there. The course is just a lot different than most. And then there's, it's such a fast race. You got to get out fast down there. So we just, I'm going to talk to him here and tell him we just need one more effort, and then you can have a nice break. But yeah, if we can have a race similar to districts, we'll do pretty well down at Hershey.
Yeah, the scary thing for other teams in District 6 is you're bringing them all back.
Yeah, that's great. And then, and there's a possibility of an eighth grader that looks like a possibility, like a Joey Wyatt type talent, if he ends up being, coming out for cross country that I had in junior high. So that's kind of a hope there. But even if he wouldn't transition into cross country next year, with what I have returning, these guys like Coy is a freshman. He didn't have quite the summer training like Joey White did as freshmen 2 years ago, and he's still doing really well. So he seems to really kind of fall in love with the sport, and that's really key to getting better, because it just makes it just more of a fun experience, and you're willing to do all the little things. So he's got a lot of ability, and that helps. Start out with ability, and then you end up maybe not loving it, but at least liking it quite a bit. That makes it a lot easier to put in the time.
One last question on districts. Sylvia Brubaker, you told us last year about when she was in 8th grade to watch out for her, and everything is advertised. Freshman, it's tough enough winning District 6, but to do it as a freshman, very impressive. Talk about her run at districts.
Yeah, she at districts, I think, I wasn't too nervous for her, because I knew she had, with the girls she was going up against, she had some solid performances all season, running in the mid 19 minutes, and most of those other girls going up against her weren't really under 20 until one a week before districts end up running under 20. So times, every course is a little different, but you can kind of look at the averages of what people are running, and the courses, and I kind of knew that she was a favorite for sure. She just had to keep doing what she was doing, and we went up Mifflin County. I was going to make her do a workout there, and then it turned out Williamsport was there. I wasn't really aware of that, and they had a girl that was pretty good, and I was like, why don't you just go for the win today, instead of kind of the workout we were going to do was probably going to cost her the win. So right the last minute, I said, why don't you just try to break 19 minutes for the first time today? She didn't do that. She wasn't too far off, but she went out there and ran a really nice race on her own with nobody around her, and she's learning pace real well. So going into districts, I did a little bit of research on the girl that was seated behind her, and like what her track times were the last 2 years. And she's a pretty fast 400 girl. Not that Sylvia can't be that fast at 400, but she's young. And I just didn't want it. I didn't want it to come down to a kick. Sylvia run with the girl the whole race and lose the race in the last 100 meters. So I thought she's showing her consistency with these times in the 19s. I think she can and she knows pace so well, she can just run away from them, wear them out, kind of like Joey Wyatt did with the Belfont kid, and not make it a deciding factor in the end. But I think I haven't really talked to her specifically about that race, but I think the nerves got to her a little bit. I think like she actually should have run away from them. The girl that ended up giving her a challenge right at the end of the race that came up in the last half mile, that probably shouldn't have happened. Because at Mifflin County, she went through the 2 mile like 21 seconds faster than she did at districts. So she was 21 seconds faster on Saturday at districts. Those girls wouldn't have been able to kind of just say, well, we're close enough. I can, we just need to stay close, and maybe I can beat her in the end. They would have probably been thrown in the towel and said, we're fighting for second. But the one girl on their team, Central Cambria, that wasn't even the girl that I was expecting to give Sylvia a run, she stepped it up that day. She was like their third or fourth runner and stepped it up, closed the gap on Sylvia. And I was like, we're going to find out Sylvia wants this bad enough, because I know she has a leg speed. Turned out the girl that came up on her, I wasn't really sure what her speed was. It was the girl that probably finished like third or fourth in the race. It's the one I was worried about. And she came up on her on the last hill with 150 to go, gapped her a little bit. And I was like, I don't scream too loud, but I was there. I was close enough to her that she could hear me. I'm like, Sylvia, use your leg speed. Like I raced her one time in 100 meters, like when I was training her in the past year, and I didn't really know how fast she was. And I had a stopwatch, and we started up at Mifflin County, ran the rubber track. And I said, let's go. And she just freaking flew off the line. Like I had a hard time keeping up with her. And I was like, wow, I haven't seen that kind of speed. Like she's fast enough that she'd probably be one of Juniata's top 300 meter girls in the spring. But she's never really going to go anywhere with the 100 meters, but that kind of speed can be really helpful with distance running. And that she finally pulled that speed out at the end of the race to get that first place back, where she was sitting in second with 5 meters back with like 120 to go. I was kind of behind that, watching her run away from me, and I seen her arms starting to go, and I'm like, I can't imagine that girl has the speed that Sylvia does. So I'm glad she didn't give up. And I've been actually telling her dad and her the last probably month that I haven't seen her kick at the end of a race. And like I said, it's going to be so important you get the districts and states, because a couple seconds could be a couple places. It could be a difference between making All State or not. And I can actually, we have watches that we're out wearing the races that you can actually, through Strava, we can actually see heart rates and paces and stuff. And I know,
really?
Wow.
yeah, she's capable of running, like in that last 100 meters, she's capable of running like 4-minute mile pace. And the last couple races she did, I look on Strava at her results, and I'm like, she's on like 5:30 pace. That's just not fast enough. So I'm hoping that at districts, that was like a little eye opener for her, that she has it. There's not, when you get that in the race, yeah, you are hurting, but there's an extra 10 or 15 seconds there. And when you have a crowd there that just brings you that little extra when you're hurting, that's something she needs to work on. She needs to work on trying to maybe start that kick a little earlier in some cases.
How do you get these? I know you've been doing this for a long time, but you talk about you know getting them ready. How do you know when to back off so they're not overtrained by the time the postseason gets here?
I would say a lot of that is some through my own experience of, when I was competing, kind of learned the hard way myself. And then just like I keep records of what I've done with Garrett when I started down there with him, and it was just himself. And I look back on what we've done like the week or two before, and kind of what worked for Garrett, what worked for Logan, kind of what worked in general for the whole team. And I try not to change things too much. I modify stuff a little bit, from season to season, but I don't try to, if something works, I, don't mess with it. And I try to keep it pretty much similar. Most of the time, you get this time of season, you can do too much and hurt yourself. If you do a little bit too, not enough, that you're probably better off going that route. Being like, I told the kids, we did a workout last night, I said, this workout here, I explained it to them, and I said, I would rather have you be a little bit slower through this workout than too fast. So that's hard. Some kids want to kind of impress you in a workout like that, but this isn't the week to do it. Maybe weeks ago, but not now. It's, the hay's in the barn, and you don't want to completely just back off and run easy all week. But you kind of want to somewhat keep what you have been doing, but just kind of lower the volume of mileage and stuff you're doing, and I just try to make it a relaxed atmosphere that I don't know how the kids feel about me. I'm pretty laid back coach. I don't know. I try not to put pressure on them, because I know if they're a winner, they want to do good. They're going to put pressure on themselves. They don't need me to add that. At the end of the day, they're doing it for themselves. They don't, I know someone would feel like they disappoint me if they don't run well, but I'll feel bad if they don't run well for themselves, and more than anything.
Kenny, you got anything?
Yeah, we're talking about heading here to Hershey this weekend. When you prepare for the week, do you do the same routine that you normally do, or do you try to find an area that kind of resembles the track there, or the course there at Hershey? Because it's kind of tricky and with the hills and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually did that last week in a workout last Tuesday before districts, and it was kind of tough because I've been trying to keep all my kids, whether they're some of the girls that I knew that weren't going to make it to states individually, or the girls aren't going to make it as a team. try to keep everybody kind of doing the same workout, maybe modify it a little bit, maybe cut it a little short for some of the younger kids. But I did a workout last Tuesday that was really, it was to simulate Hershey a little bit, more than anything, because I was expecting that Joey and Wyatt and Wesley would, and the boys, if my worst case, if my boys team didn't make it, that those three would probably make it, and that Sylvia would make it. So I'm like, I'm gonna do this workout. It's not gonna hurt the other kids, and we're gonna do this. So because we don't want to do too much hill workouts like this week, because we want to be as fresh as we can be for this big one. And we did a kind of there's a lot of hills around Juniata High School there. And you just there's a wrestling, where they have the wrestling building down there. There's a nice hill. And I just came up with a nice little back and forth type loop up and down, working on some like downhills and uphills for like a mile in the middle of this workout. And I told them not to go too hard on it, just kind of work on their technique on the downhills and the uphills, and not overcook it. But I told them, I said, Hershey is very hilly. I don't want to cut out hills completely way back weeks ahead of time. So we do got to remind ourselves that, it's not going to be pancake flat down there. So we can't just train flat. But this week's a little bit different story. If I haven't done too much hills, it's probably just going to hurt them.
Get out of coaching mode for a minute and put on your runner's hat. How would you run Parkview yourself?
That course wouldn't suit me. If I was back in high school, I was more of an endurance guy. I was probably like a Wesley. I'd say Joey and White might be a little faster than I was back in high school. The problem with that course, I ran at Lehigh University in high school when I went to States. And I ended up paying the price even at Lehigh, because I didn't go out cross country until my senior year, and I was never good at getting out. I wasn't really a fast guy. I was more of an endurance machine that could pick off people as you went. But at Hershey, that type of runner has to change their plan a little bit, because they're going to get so much traffic that they're not even going to have a chance to run their own race and pass these people. So you got to go out kind of over your head. That course suits Garrett Boblitz was the fastest cross country, like as far as speed wise, 100 meters, 400 meters. He was the fastest guy I've coached down there at Juniata. That was not a problem for him. And I got him off. He was quick off the line. He could get out there and get position before it kind of narrowed. Logan become better at that with time. He didn't have no trouble last year. But Joey and Wyatt, they're a little bit more endurance machines. They're not quite like Garrett and Logan. They're still doing super good. They got to go out a little bit over their heads, and they feel like they're going to blow up early on, but it's kind of the only way they can do it. So they're not sitting in 100 some place, and there's narrowing of the bridge before the mile. They're going to go out pretty hard, and we go to the Hershey Foundation invite every year just to keep working on that course. It's not quite as tough as States, because the numbers aren't there, but the more times we can get on there, the more times. I know with Garrett, when he was a freshman, he was running really well. He's a district champ. And that course, because it was his first or second time on it, he just did not have it mastered. He ended up finishing close to 100th his freshman year. And then after that, he got her down, once he got the confidence on that. But like Joey White's been on this course like 5 or 6 times, and they're really, I think they're getting, I know Wyatt's got a lot of confidence. He ran really well with the foundation this year, and talked about that tonight on the run. If he could run close, they're a little bit faster and then a foundation, if the temperatures and everything are good down there, that he should be in contention. That for the most part, you can look at the results of the last 5 years, and you kind of know what time you got to be under to usually be the top 25 and be All-State. So, if he runs his time that we're talking about and he doesn't make it All-State, then, we'll try to get her next year. But he's definitely him and Joey both have a chance of being all-state top 25. And Sylvia, all three of them, as far as medaling individually, have a shot. They're all in about the same situation. They're not, I doubt, I mean, I hate to, I don't try to be negative, but I'm just being realistic because there's some really tough competition out there that they're like trying to squeak in that top 25. Top 10's really tough. I told Wyatt some time ago, he's like, think I can make top 10? I said, well, that's going to be really hard. I said, you can prove me wrong, but, realistically knowing what the times are and what guys are out there right now, don't set, I want you to set your goals too high. Go out there and try to be a top 10 and just blow up your race and not even be a top 25. So, sometimes I worry. I talk to my wife about that. Sometimes I just try to be as honest as I can to these kids. Sometimes they hope they don't take me negative, but I know I've been around running long enough to know that huge improvements at this point in the season. Yeah, you can have great days, but for the most part, you're not going to drop a minute off if you've been running consistently hard. So I just try to be honest with them so their hopes aren't broken when they don't run that time.
Well, I actually think that's a good thing because you don't. Sometimes you have that pie in the sky optimism, like you said, and it ends up being a disaster if you run into some adversity. So I think that's a good thing. Wyatt told me he's trying to get like 16:45 or lower. He thinks if he does that, he can get a medal.
Oh yeah, 16:45 it might even crack him the top 10. We were talking tonight, probably like if he could just break 17, should be a top 25. So it's he's been really consistent this year. He could have one of those fabulous days and run under that 16:45, but that was 5-6 weeks ago. We ran down there in Foundation, and he's probably he could be 15-20 seconds. He ran like a 17:02 down there. So yeah, he could be that much fitter. The weather was pretty good for that one too, and the weather's gonna be good. Looks like for Saturday. So yeah, that's a nice thing about running. If you want something bad enough, it can make a difference. But consistency and is really key. As somebody just the times don't lie so much. Track's a little bit more. You can dial in a little bit more track because it's the same course all the time. It's the same distance. Cross country's not always exactly 3.1 miles, or you don't like where there's some of these kids coming to the States, you don't know these courses they run on. So it makes it a little bit, when you look at rankings in the state, makes it a little bit harder to know for sure where you're really, because I think Wyatt's ranked like in double A, maybe 34th or something.
Yeah, he's 30. He's 34th, I think.
Yeah, somewhere around there. But I know his shot of running a good time, which like would have probably moved him up the top 20 at Paul Short Lehigh. That we had a lot of mud down there. It was really soft, so I think he ran 20-25 seconds slower than he would have with good weather. So those 20-25 seconds could move him up top 20 easy. It's just based on time. If it was track, it's kind of a no-brainer, but cross country is a little bit of guessing.
Yeah, I think I saw he's like 34 and Joey's like 35 or 36.
Yeah, yep. And I think Sylvia's probably a little better than that, if I recall. But
I think I think she's 22.
Yeah, that's probably a good place. That's probably realistically about what a good day would be for her. So when she ran down at Hershey Foundation, she was sitting there. I can't remember what place. She was definitely in medal contention at that invite. She had a quarter mile to go, right at the quarter mile, and I was down there yelling at her. And she had some stomach issues. That was the only time this season. I know she told me she had some stomach issues in the race, but this literally, I think she was throwing up a little bit. She had to walk, and she lost over a minute. She didn't finish that, but if she would have ended up staying right with the girl she was with there with a quarter mile to go, she would have ran, I think, around a 20:15 or something down there in that course. And that typically would get you top 25 in the state. I looked at times from 2 years ago because it was extremely hot down there last year. So I threw last year out because that one's not a good
Yeah.
comparison. But yeah, she did actually really well, other than a quarter mile to go. I mean, she did really well in that Hershey course, because last year as a 8th grader, they were welcome to come with us for they didn't have any junior high races at the foundation race last year, but I think she had soccer going on or something and she couldn't get there. And I was a little disappointed because I thought that would be one more time that she could, like, I was going to run with her down there in that course, because I knew she would probably be at Hershey this year if she committed to running. And for her to run as well as she did in Hershey Foundation for the first time was pretty impressive. So hopefully she, remembers that course pretty well and does something similar and doesn't run into any kind of difficulty like she did at Foundation and late in the race.
Yeah, I talked to her. She seems to have a good plan, a good idea of how she wants to run Parkview.
Is that she?
Yeah.
I haven't talked to her too much about that. I sometimes I worry. I do need to talk to her a little bit here before we actually get to that point. But sometimes I worry maybe I'm putting a little bit too much pressure on by talking about it too much. So I try to just kind of make it seem like it's another week of training, enough, no pressure or anything. I'm sure she's putting enough pressure on herself, but it's going to be with her. I know how gifted she is, and it's hard as a coach not to maybe be a little harder on her, because you know as a coach just what potential there is there, and she's young, and it doesn't happen overnight, and you got to be a little bit patient as a coach that remember she is young, and honestly, I've had some great experiences with boys working at top level boys, but I really haven't had a girl that kind of ability down there to work with. So I have to be a little careful. I can't treat her exactly like a boy as far as her progression and everything. So I try to, I get excited about what I know she can do, but I can't get upset when she don't do it, because it's going to take time.
Here, Coach, I got the quote up. This is what she said to me. Tell me what you think. She said about running the course this year, and any experience you can get is helpful. Then she said the first mile was definitely the easiest, so I want to take advantage of that. The second mile is harder. I have to prepare and not get killed on the hills, so I have some room at the top. And then the third mile, I just have to give it all I got and do what I can.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. She's a smart girl, and she executes. She's got she's got good leg speed, so it's going to be in her favor getting out down in Hershey. It's definitely going to be, she's going to be getting out a lot faster than she has some of these other invites, because it's just the people down there. I mean, you'll get kids that really shouldn't be out there, have no chance in heck of getting a medal, just trying to get a little bit of fame by flying out to the front and getting in, these top dogs' way.
That would be me and Kenny.
I wouldn't have enough speed. I mean, they run so fast that first 400 meters. That'd be my all out, and I'd just completely hit the wall and then go get up the hills in the middle. But that course I wish. I think it's because of Hershey. I'm sure they sponsor it and everything, and then all the parking down there. But for years I've been like, why can't they move this somewhere else where it's a little wider opening at the first mile? It's not so many turns and so narrowing that it's just a little. And then the course itself is so challenging. A lot of college races aren't as challenging. A little bit longer races they do in college, but they're not quite as challenging as the Hershey course. So sometimes it gets a little easier for a big chunk of the college races as far as the terrain. And I think it's about money, I guess.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You told me before that the leg speed is really important, and Logan had it, Garrett had it. You said Sylvia has it.
Yeah.
Anybody else like on the boys team that has that leg speed for the kick? Is Wyatt have that?
He's got a pretty decent kick. It should help if he has something left in that last. I think it's like 150 up top once they get her up to the highest point there near the end of the race. Yeah, it's not quite the close. He's the type of guy that he's going to have to grind him out. He's going to have to take a little further out. He may have to start his kick a little further out than a Garrett Baldwitz or a Logan Strasser. He's not quite that fast. He's getting faster each year, but he knows that. It's good for him to know his strengths and weaknesses so he can beat people different ways. That was a plan at districts. We knew that Wyatt, the kid that they were trying to beat, Joey and Wyatt were trying to beat from Bellefonte, his track times were so much better than Joey and Wyatt. It's like 800 meters. It's a pretty good sign of how fast somebody is, with endurance. And the plan was at districts is this kid's got good leg speed. You guys need to go out there, wear him down, and not have him near you with 800 to go. Because in 800 to go, he's going to be thinking, all I need to do is stick with these guys, and I can out kick him in the end. So the plan was, it worked out good. I was like, hopefully you guys are more fit than him. That just run with him the first mile. Don't push the first mile too much. Second mile at districts gets a little harder. That's when it really tests your fitness. And there's a hill before the 2 mile. And I had talked about, I'm hoping that you guys can just keep grinding him out and he starts to feel it. And you guys can get a gap on him going into the 2 mile, and then you can just keep pushing that. And then if that didn't work, by playing at it, districts was like down where the mile is. You'd be coming around there a second time. You have like 0.85 miles to go. It's a little bit of an uphill. This is where I had Logan his junior year make an attack on a kid from Central Cambria, because at that point, Central Cambria kid was really fast, and we didn't want him near the end. So I said, if you guys can't get away from this kid from Bellefonte, then your last resort is to make a move down there, 0.85 to go, and hopefully he throws in the towel. And it was great because they were able to just use their fitness they had and grind out that second mile and get a gap. And then we were just constantly cheering them on and telling them, that the kid was in trouble, that they need to just keep on the hammer. And it ended up being, they got a big enough gap. I remember running down there at the fence out there, the old Kish, and I knew it's 800 meters to go. And I said to them, I just came out of the blue, I said, if you guys run a 230, under 235 last 800, he ain't catching you, because he was about 7 seconds back at that point. I'm running around the other side to get over by the last hill. And there's Joey. It was great because they're teammates, but they're good friends and they push each other. Joey had not pushed Wyatt like that all season. And there's Joey taking the lead with like 600 to go, getting a little gap on Wyatt. 400 to go. Wyatt's like, I'm not giving up. And he comes back on him. And it was back and forth like that last 400 meters. And I don't think any of us knew who was going to win. Wyatt had this confidence that he had a little bit more kick, but I didn't really have that confidence that Wyatt did. And it was so cool to see. I was so proud of Joey. I told Joey, I said, Wyatt owes you a little bit of credit for that win, because they worked together out there breaking the kid from Bellefonte, and having two guys running together like that, especially good friends. That made it a lot easier. And it's probably one of the best second places you could get behind your teammate like that for Joey.
Yeah, and it's good that you have two guys like that can push each other, huh?
Oh, it's if I could get two guys like pairs like that in the future, oh my gosh, that's like so ideal. They get along, but when they're in a race, they're competitors. They want to beat each other. You can't beat it. I mean, it's great for workouts. You can set those guys up for times for different workouts, and they're going to be there pushing each other. Some days one might have a little bit more than the other, but that's hard to come by, really. You always have somebody that's a little bit stronger, and it's not easy to get two guys like that have that much talent. But it's been you would not believe when I met those guys the summer of the freshman year. And it's a good story with Wyatt, because the summer we were training, he came up to Sprecher. We were done with track season. Wyatt was in 8th grade. I had heard he wanted to run. He was wondering if he could run with us, but we were going to take a break after track. So his parents brought him up to Sprecher for like 4 or 5 weeks for the youth program, kind of learned some fundamentals. He did a few races, and he got him kind of started there. And then I started working with him in July that freshman year. We would do runs down there, 4 or 5 mile runs, and he couldn't keep up. I mean, we were running not that fast, and he couldn't keep up. And we try to keep people together out on the road, especially young ones like that, just for safety. And I said to my wife, I said, he's going to have to stay back at the park and run laps around there because he can't keep up. This was like a couple weeks into it. And Garrett Balbus, because he showed up, he had graduated from high school. So he showed up that summer. I think that was, he was already in college, but he was on a summer break. And Wyatt really looked up to Garrett. And Garrett shows up to train with us that summer, one of those summer workouts, just an easy run. And what a difference that made. We went out for like 5 miles. Wyatt's up there talking to Garrett. And I'm like, holy crap, he can do this. he can do this. From there on out, we never had to wait up for Wyatt again. And I remember he was running like 21-minute 5K that summer in July. He did the Port Royal Speedway. I tried to help pace him, but wasn't a big help. He was running like 21 something. And then I'd say like after training a month later, I paced him like a minute faster at Walker Park down near Port Royal. He was ecstatic about that. And then we ended up, Joey, we got him kind of by accident. We were at that Port Royal Speedway because I was pacing Wyatt, trying to, show some interest in one of my new guys coming up. And there was this kid going up for a award, just not a very big kid. And he had a Juniata shirt on. And we're like, he's probably in 7th, 8th grade. So we got talking to him afterwards, and he said he was going into 9th grade. And we asked him if he was doing anything in the fall. And he said he wasn't. He's a wrestler, but he wasn't doing anything in the fall. So we got him talked into cross country, and Joey's been a real blessing there. He's just a great personality. He's really well liked on the team. He's both those guys are going to be really hard when they go. They graduate next year, but it's a heck of a story from where you see Wyatt as a freshman, and you look at him like back then, you're like, he's not that talented. Somebody would have guessed back then, they would have never thought he was going to be a district champ. But he fell in love with it. I guided him the right way gradually, and he got passionate about it. And it's this sport. You don't always have to have huge ability to start out like a Logan Strasser did, but you have to be persistent, consistent, like throughout the year, and in liking it quite a bit helps a lot. And have kind of goal oriented where you really like seeing that constant improvement, that hard work, and like you do with running, and see those results from your hard work. You don't always see that in a lot of other sports because of a little bit more politics involved. It's kind of a matter of people's opinion. If a player got better or something, I guess, stats can make a little bit of difference there, but running's, it's obvious. If you run a mile from one year to the next, you get better. Your hard work's showing. And, some people will just love that, and they'll just go with that and use it to constantly like, wow, how good can I get? So there's other people who are just like, it's not really worth all the work. Those guys are hard to coach, but you get those guys that like to set goals and they love like that hard work and see the results. That you can do a lot with them, even if they're not super gifted from the get-go. You got the other thing too with kids like that too is you just don't know how their growth is going to be. They're young boys, and you don't know they're going to get taller. They're going to get faster with that growth. So you can't really judge somebody completely as a freshman where they could be as a senior. There's some real surprises out there.
Yeah, and growing, getting mature.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Kenny, you got anything? I don't want to monopolize it all.
Oh, just curious. Do you get nervous for your runners when they run a big race like Hershey?
Oh, for sure, because I feel like I have a big part in their success, and if they don't do well, I'm kind of like, oh, did I screw up here? Did I not prepare them quite right? And I know like Wyatt is real passionate, and I hate to see a kid that's had such like a great districts and all like not finish off the season with some happiness. I want to see him walk away being happy, and it makes everybody happy. But I hate to see them have disappointment, and that's so yeah, I get nervous just because I want it for them. That's like I would if I was racing. Not quite the same, because I know when I was racing, and they know that too, that running can be, especially at the state level like that, can be brutally hard. So some of your fear is it's going to hurt out there. It might not hurt from the gun, but it's going to hurt somewhere out there if you're doing it right. And that fear of like, wow, this is going to hurt is a big chunk of a kid's like nervousness that he has. So I don't have that quite as much for them, but I still get nervous.
That's because you were the one that struck fear. Like, they would look to see if you were entered in Goose Day again, and if you were, everybody'd go, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, you get like after you get
Miller's in there again. How many years in a
yeah.
row did you win that? Honestly, do you remember?
Well, I had gaps along the way. I think I've had a few injuries in there, but I did win 25 of them.
See,
I only ever lost 2 of them. I lost. They had a 10. They used to have a 10K with that back in the 90s. I think late 80s and late 80s and 90s. It used to go down around Jacks Creek and come in and go in around near Lewistown, the old Lewistown High School. Mike Lamarca, he's a school teacher.
Yeah, I remember him.
He was a pretty darn good runner back then. He ended up coming in there one year and beat me by a good 20 seconds or so. Those losses made me better. Then it was like in 1996, I believe. I was running pretty good. I had one, I hadn't even beat once of all the efforts I was in there. And I go in there thinking I'm going to win again. And Mike Lynn, he went to Lewistown. At the time, he was maybe a sophomore or junior at the University of Pitt running Division I. He shows up, and I thought I was going to win again, and I just could not stay with him. He broke my course record, beat me by like 20, 25 seconds. And after that race, I cooled down with him. I made friends with him. Kind of, that's just the way running is. But man, that ate me up. I was like, I told myself, what makes him any better than me? I just was determined to not like. I had, I don't know how many I won at that time, but I felt like this is my race. I'm not going to let somebody take this away from me. So I would say I would never run as well for a 5K if it wasn't for getting beat that time. I used that for motivation. Every workout, I used that every week for the next year. So I went back into Goose Day the next year, ready for him if he does show. He didn't show, but I thought, oh, okay, he's not here. That's kind of disappointing, but I'm going to try to get his course record. So I went out there and soloed it and beat his course record by like 8 seconds. It's still a course record in there. But, like you've heard before that sometimes second place is the best place to be. It was for me back then. And that made me better. That I found out I had a little bit more in myself. Nowadays, if I use that mindset, I just break. I could just, back then I could get away with a little bit more. I was around 30 years old. Now I'd have to be real careful with somebody getting me motivated like that, because I'd be broke in no time. But somebody that's younger could take a second place if they really, you try to make friends with these guys, but in a way, you're like, they're my enemy. They're trying to take something away from me. So in a race, it's like I'm not your friend no more. No friends, no gifts, no gifts.
Well, back in the old days, the Sentinel used to cover it, and me and Franco would. Do you remember Scott Franco, Jeff?
Yeah.
Me and Franco used to go. Who's gonna challenge at the Jeff Miller Invitational this year?
Yeah, it's pretty cool that
we
that's
didn't
been around.
we didn't call it the Goose Day. We called it the Jeff Miller Invitational.
Yeah, there's been a lot of other really good local runners. I just been one of the few that once they got out of high school and college that just were so passionate about it, didn't just give up on it. I just kept at it. It was something that just made me happy in life, and I owe that to Sprecher. I mean, really, because he's the one that kind of, I knew I kind of had that gift, but he kind of, brought that out in me, made me feel like a big deal, and it was hard to replace that later on in life, and that's why I'm still doing it today. Now, eventually you got to kind of get back to a sport because you're kind of wearing out, but coaching's definitely, in some ways, I actually think coaching's harder because when I was racing myself, it's a lot less time, that's for sure. And you're totally control of what you're going to do. I don't have total control of a Sylvia Brubaker or Wyatt. I can only guide them so much, and then they got to do the rest. When I'm racing myself, that's all on me. So, I think in some ways, maybe physically it's a lot harder to compete yourself than be a coach, but I'd say coaching is a lot harder because you almost have to be a psychologist too, and that's something I'm not good at. I feel really confident in my training abilities and the atmosphere I have in my coaching with my kids to like the sport, but to really give great pep talks and stuff, it's something. I'm such a self-motivated person that I kind of expect people to be like that in a way, which isn't fair. So I'm not always giving these pep talks that some people do need. Actually, my wife has helped me with coaching a lot. She's better at that than I am. She gave the kids a talk on the bus on the way out the districts, and it was what I'm thinking, but she just better. She's better heard. I don't really speak real loud, but she says it a better way. She's more like people person. So we wouldn't be as good. I wouldn't have these results if it wasn't for her. She does a lot of behind the scenes stuff that she don't get credit for. That is a big part in our success at Juniata.
An obvious question here: how important is that for cross country running? The mental toughness and attitude that you need.
Oh, it's real tough when you get. It's really important when you get down to this district and state level. It's you got to fight for everything, and if you want to be good, I don't care how gifted you are, it's going to hurt. And it's what separates these guys at states are like top 5, top 10. Those guys have that ability to suffer a little bit more. And they're not just giving 95%, they're giving that 100%, and that's what it takes. And as a runner, Joey, Wyatt, Sylvia, you're always trying to analyze a race you ran and say, I think I had a little bit more out there. And you're always trying to walk away from a race saying that was exactly all I could give. You're always, even myself, all those years running, you're always, once you catch your breath 15 minutes after the race, it's easy to say, oh, I think I had a little bit more out there. But you keep working at trying to push yourself to that limit where you can honestly say in a race that was all I had. There was nothing else I could have done. So, mental toughness. I mean, if anybody says distance running is easy, they haven't done it. It's in some ways it can be like, who can take the biggest beat and who can hold the breath the longest. It's, just a lot of it's not like that. But when you get down to the big races like that really matter, you better be tough. I don't know how somebody can be a state champ in cross country without being mentally tough.
My next question then, can that be taught or are you born with it?
That is a good question. I am trying to figure out myself when I get an athlete that's super gifted and they lack that mental toughness. Can we work on that? It's sure. I think it can be. I think as you get better and get results and you put more pressure on yourself and you want it more, I think you're willing to go a little deeper. Logan's a good example. He was, gifted from the get go, but he became, by the time he graduated, I classify him probably the toughest kid I've ever coached. Just tough. He's tough as nails. And, it's funny because you sometimes look at a kid like that physically or just being around him and you're like, he's not a tough kid. You got in a fist fight with him. He's going to back down, but there's different inner strengths it takes with distance running that Logan he's a winner and he wants something. He has the confidence in his abilities. He's going to darn near kill himself out there to get it. So, that's something that is a good question there. That if you get somebody that doesn't have that at all, that's going to be really difficult there. But I do think like Wyatt's got tougher just because he fell in love with the sport. He knows it's going to take toughness to be able to get better, to be able to have results. So, he's definitely gotten mentally tougher, and that's that's a lot on him. That's a lot of credit to him that he wants things bad enough to really push that deep. So these are real friendly kids. They're not they're not like that maybe a wrestler mindset where you have to kind of like be a tough guy and make everybody intimidate everybody else. But you get out there and of course they're mentally tough.
Kenny, anything else?
Just talk about, if you could, the junior high team this year. How well did they do?
Pretty good. I think we had 9. We have a lot of those kids. We have a lot of those kids still doing other like basketball at the junior high level throughout the season and soccer. So they're not a good bit of them aren't really training with me to really know what they're capable of. Kind of you need somebody kind of full time at that age for a good 10, 14 weeks to kind of like slowly build up their aerobic system to kind of see what kind of talent they have. But some of those kids like Josiah and Carolyn that are pretty fit because of soccer. And Josiah does soccer during cross country season there, and Carolyn does basketball right now, but she's also a soccer player. They're pretty fit from doing those sports, but it's still not the same. You're not working the same systems as you would with running. But for them to just come off of their other sport and run like at the middle school championships, those two, Carolyn and Josiah, did, and do as well as they did, they're some of the most talented up and coming athletes that are down there at Juniata. That and what happens with a lot of these kids that I get, the same way it was with Garrett, is they're just athletes in general. They could be pretty darn good. Logan's the same way. I guess he was a pretty good soccer player. You just got to be able to get those guys long enough to like. It's not like I'm trying to take them from other sports, but in some cases, these kids could be better runners than they are in those other sports. And you just need enough time with them somewhere if they have a gap of all the other things they do to like have that 10, 14 week period where you can slowly build them up and they can get some results to kind of have a feel whether they like running and if they really could be good at it. And they have to make that decision. Carolyn and Josiah are in the same situation. They're going to be freshmen next fall, but both could be state level runners. I'm almost sure of that because they're doing super good off of hardly any running. but they love they love soccer. So that time will tell. It's going to be up to them. I can't twist their arm because they need to make the decision. And if they end up choosing cross country, they need to be there because their heart's in it, because that's extremely important. They don't want to be there because somebody else wants them to be there. They need to be there for themselves. So we'll see. It's just, I don't get the numbers down there. That's why we started the junior high program, to hope that we could get a few more. As you know, the numbers are falling off a little bit, and hopefully we could build a future with the junior high program. It's not as easy as we were hoping, but you can't give up trying. So
yeah, you think it would be though, because your team is the most successful team down in Juniata for the last 5-6 years it's been.
Yeah, the thing is so many of these kids, I don't know, from back when we were in high school, I think maybe physical fitness in general with gym classes has changed a little bit. I know back when I was in high school, you had to run a mile at least once or twice throughout the year in gym class. And that could kind of, Sprecher was a gym teacher. He could see these kids like myself that had that ability to run a pretty decent mile off of their training. They don't really do that hardly anymore. So there's not like that ability of a gym teacher to say, wow, you're really good. They do shorter stuff. So yeah, it's just not, it's not quite the same as far as that, like as it was back in my day. But yeah, but the other thing too in Juniata County is up here in Mifflin County, Spreck, I don't know how long he's been doing. He's been doing it quite a few years. He has youth track programs and cross country. There's nothing down in Juniata County. Now he does work with a few athletes from down there, and I, he worked with Wyatt a little bit and Levi some, but that's everybody in Juniata County. If you're not like into football, you're pretty much doing soccer. And then what happens is these kids are doing soccer. Sylvia's been doing soccer since like 5 years old. Josiah's been doing soccer since 5 years old. That's all they know. That's where all their friends are. And that's, why they're pretty good in the sport. They've been putting in the time. So they're invested. The parents are invested, and it's not easy to walk away from. So yeah, it's a challenge down there. It really is. We do really well for the all more that we have. These teams that we'll compete against that states, there's nothing for some of these AA schools to have 25, 30 boys out. Numbers make a huge difference. I mean, you're going to have more talent with those numbers, and that's hard to compete with. I got to have those years where, like my junior class right now, where there's quite a few kids there that are on the junior class, that you just have these classes where you have the more numbers to be able to be able to win districts like we did. After this junior class graduates, yeah, it's a little bit unsure, but hopefully things work out, and I get some here and there, some that I don't know about. So you just got to take 1 year at a time.
All right, it's Saturday evening. PIAAs are over. What would your team have to do to make Jeff Miller happy on Saturday night?
I would say improve I think we got 9th down there last year. Improve that placing as a team. I actually did a little bit of research last night, and I know what we ran a district time wise, and that course is about 45 seconds to a minute slower than district. So I plugged in those numbers, looked back 2 years ago, and kind of see where my guys had placed in as far as point wise. And we're probably sitting in around 7th or 8th place. The top 5 would be very difficult. That's probably unrealistic. That's next year, as we can develop this team more. But I would be happy if we get a couple of them on the podium, and they all run we know they put their heart into it, and they run pretty close to that 45 seconds to a minute on average for them. I'm not going to be major disappointed with them. This, I don't want to like be happy with districts, and we got one more day to race yet, but districts was a great. If it wouldn't be if states didn't turn out to be that good, it was still a successful season with the way they ran with districts. But that's why not. Let's try to end it with even another one. Another good day like that.
Awesome. Thank Jeff. We appreciate you showing up. Thank you very much for doing it. We appreciate it. We always enjoy it. And good luck on Saturday.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me.
Anytime. Thank you, Jeff.
Yep. See ya.
See ya. That's Jeff Miller, Juniata cross-country coach. He will take the boys team down to the Parkview course in Hershey this Saturday morning, 9 a.m. it starts. Might as well give them a heads up. They deserve it. The Juniata boys team consists of Wyatt Straub, Joey Baumberger, Wesley Arisman, Levi Zeiters, Coy Kerstetter, Tegan Trout, and Ricardo Guante. And, of course, the girls, Sylvia Brubaker, will be going down as the District 6 championship. And we wish them all the best for their cross-country pursuits. I got a Bald Eagle update, Kenny Varner.
Okay, let's hear it.
The girls lost in the District 6 finals in cross-country. In soccer, 2-0. And the Bald Eagle area girls volleyball team taking on Hollidaysburg. They are up 2-1, but Hollidaysburg is winning in game 4. So this could go to
a nail biter.
Could go to a 5th set. Let me wait till they go to the scoreboard here. I got it on TV because Bald Eagle streams everything. I think in the fourth set, it's 15-12 Hollidaysburg right now. So it's 2-1 Eagles. They've won a state title before, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right.
Back when Larry Campbell was the coach, 4 or 5 years ago, I believe.
I compiled this for us, Kenny. I'm going to give everybody love here before we get to football. Okay. This is the coverage area of the press box and hometown sports scene. These are all the kids that are going to be Saturday at Parkview cross country. Ready?
Yep.
Girls AAA, the state college team is the champions. What a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
They have Chloe Poindexter, the district champ, Devin Jackson, Devani Wadia, Julia Bigger, Kristen Schellberger, Abigail Bigger, and Alexa Peterson. In AA, Sylvia Brubaker of Juniata, as we said, that Bellefonte qualified Emma Raish, Natalie Jolly, and Emma Landis. In single A, Penns Valley had Liliana Smith and Ava Federoff. St. Joe's has Evelyn Reynolds. In boys AA, State College. Before I say their names, listen to what they finished. This is how much they dominate. Their guys finished 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 8th, and 9th. So they had 7 of the top 10.
My goodness.
So Isaac Opperman, district champ. Theo Opperman, Stephen Fowler, Samuel Enders, Owen Coughlin, Griffin Selber, Neil McGuire for AAA State College. And Reese Cubison of Mifflin County, the sophomore, is there. Is that Kylie's brother?
That's Kylie's little brother, yep. I was going to say, I have an ironic story about Reese and his sister.
Okay, go ahead.
On Saturday, both were racing in, Reese was, of course, in the District 6, while Sister Kylie was running in the MAC Championships. And both, ironically, finished 11th place.
Nice. Reese really had a good race. I looked at his District 6 time last year as a freshman. He was 58 seconds better this year.
Yeah, he's really come onto his own this year. It's nice to see him really getting in tune and starting to really impress.
Absolutely. And in the boys double A, we mentioned Juniata's team. They are the champions. And then Belfont qualified Alexander Christ, Caden Williams, Alex Mansfield, and Caleb Vintage. In boys single A, Penns Valley team finished second. They qualified because single A takes the top two teams. Their team consists of Dylan Riley, Taven Price, McLean Reamer, Vince Smith, Matthew Wheeland, Garrett Banyay, Ethan Rowland. And then St. Joe's, Colin Samander. And Bald Eagle area had Colton Wagner. See that? I named every cross-country guy that's going from the area.
That's awesome.
We plug everybody here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get to football now.
Okay.
Review week, what was it, 9, 10? I don't know. They had that week 0, so I guess it was week 9.
Yeah.
State College finally got off the losing schneid, 21-14 over Chambersburg. In a shocker, because I'm not the shock that they won, but I thought it would be close. Bald Eagle area, they both came in 8-1. Crushed Penn Cambria 46-0. And let me give you a little story about what a great win that was for Bald Eagle area. They were the number 2 or 3 seed. Heading into the last week of the season, Richland was second in the state. And their number, they were second. They were the number 1 seed in District 6. Bald Eagle won. Richland got destroyed by Central.
Mm-hmm.
In a battle of state-ranked teams, Richland's 2A, Central's AAA. Central beat them 43-15.
Wow.
That jumped Bald Eagle area. They are now the number 1 seed in the playoffs in AA, the Eagles.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, that 46-0 score is really deceiving because it wasn't even that close. It was just Bald Eagle had everything rolling for him, everything. All 3 facets of the game was working. The only thing, I think they missed 2 extra points. So it could have been 4.
How could they do that?
But, yeah. That if that's the only thing you did wrong in the game, hey.
And then another surprise, I did not think Susquehanna would beat Juniata. They did 18-7, stop that Juniata offense. Mifflin County had a 22-19 win over Redland, closer than expected. Mifflin County wins on the final drive of the game. They earned a playoff spot with that, a home playoff spot. Belfont gets their second win of the year, 14-13 over Somerset. Phillipsburg Osceola, gotta pity them. 22-21 over McCourt. They ended 4-6, and they finished top 8 go to districts playoffs. They finished 9th.
Oh.
But that's a good sign for next year because that Phillipsburg's loaded with sophomores and juniors. So I think they're going to be a team to be reckoned with next season.
Yeah, you can see the progress even from last year. Would they win maybe 1 or 2 games last year? So, yeah, they're definitely heading in the right direction.
And then Karn City must be way better than I thought. They came in 4-5 and just crushed 8-1 Mount Union, 34-19. And then Penns Valley kept their playoff berth alive with a 41-34 win over Central Cambria.
Nice.
And we promote our buddy PA Football News Rankings by Billy Splain, pafootballnews.com. This is the latest teams in District 6 that are ranked. AAA Central was number 7, Penn Cambria, even with the loss to Bald Eagle, honorable mention. Bald Eagle area up to number 8. Richland fell from 2 to 9. And then in single A, Northern Cambria is 9th in the state. That's the District 6 teams that are state ranked or honorable mention. All right, let's get to the games.
All right.
We're excited for playoffs. AAA, State College, the number 1 seed, has a bye. Mifflin County gets a home playoff game. 5-5, they will take on 3rd seed, 4-6, Altoona. Altoona, 3rd week of the season, crushed Mifflin County 35-0. Braun Mosley, if people remember in that game, had 166 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I'm hearing a noise.
Oh.
I thought it was my brain, Kenny. It's okay. And Deacon Schaefer was held to just 6 yards in that game, buddy.
Yeah, but I see similar things going on this year as last year. As you remember, I believe Altoona really had the best of Mifflin County the first time they played, but in the playoff game, if it wouldn't have been for Deacon Schaefer getting hurt, Mifflin County could have definitely advanced. They didn't, but they gave Altoona quite a fight. So if Deacon can stay healthy and the line can block and give Landon Eichhorn some time, I think that Mifflin County can definitely pull off this win.
Oh, are you covering that?
No, actually, I will be covering Juniata Bellefonte.
Oh, okay. My opinion on this, Mifflin County all season long has struggled against teams that are bigger and more physical than they are, and Altoona is bigger and more physical. And I know Mifflin County people probably hate me. I'm a Mifflin Countier, but I think Altoona's going to win it 28-14. They just have too much up front in their offensive and defensive lines, too much size. And Braun Mosley, let's be honest, ran all over them in the first game. And I think it's going to be whose running game is better and Altoona's bigger guys. I'm going to take Altoona 28-14.
Well, I think that sometimes when a team thinks that they have nothing to lose and everything to gain, why not? Upsets like this have happened quite a bit with this kind of scenario, and I know that the Huskies are ready to make up for that early loss. So I do believe that Altoona is going to get their points. But I believe that Coach Breon has some things up his sleeve, some wrinkles that Altoona has not seen yet. So I'm going to say Mifflin County 28, Altoona 25.
All right. 4A. Juniata does not go to walkthrough because Bellefonte decided to enter the tournament. Juniata, the number 1 seed, 5-5, takes on 2nd seed Bellefonte, 2-8. There's only 2 seeds. Johnstown was 0-10 and didn't enter the playoffs. I don't want to piss Bellefonte fans off either, but I have no idea why this team entered the District 6 playoffs. None.
Well,
I have no idea at 2-8 why you're going to enter the playoffs.
Well, I kind of understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to build up a new culture, and the kids have been taking a beating all year. And in the last, I believe, 6 games, 4 of their games have come down to a 1-point game. 2 that they won and 2 that they lost. So, why not send these kids to a game? Give them a little pride they may not come out the winners, but it's also kind of a reward for hanging in there and giving them the experience of what it's like in a big game. So, yeah, that's the only thing I can
Their,
figure. But
their reward, I'm not going to be as nice, my friend. I love you to death, but their reward for going the playoffs is they're going to get their ass kicked, is what's going to happen. Juniata, I got to give you this one stat because I didn't realize he had a year like this. We knew he was good, but Jasper Sheps, 55 catches, 1,086 yards, and 11 touchdowns.
wow, that's got to be a Juniata record.
Yes, by far. 55 catches. Wyatt Ehrenzeller threw for 1,624 yards and 19 touchdowns. So amazing. It isn't your Gary Klingensmith Juniata. This is a passing team. And I think they're going to roll 35-7 over Bellefonte. Kenny,
Well,
I know you live
yeah.
there, so you have to make it better than that.
Well, now I'm not.
Or you'll
gonna
get killed.
I'm not going to say a score, but of course, it's pretty much a given that Juniata is going to come out the victors. But you know, never underestimate the underdog, though. That's all I'm saying. Weirder things have happened.
That dog is so far under. All right, let's go to 2A where we got 3 teams in the playoffs. Double A, number 8, Bishop Guilfoyle, 6-4, takes on top seed Bald Eagle Area, 9-1. These two teams, if you remember, Kenny, met in the week 1. First week of the season, it was 17-7. Bald Eagle beat Bishop Guilfoyle. It was a defensive battle, and I got to get to Bald Eagle here. Their stats this year. Nagel, just freaking out of this world. Ready? 181 of 257. That's 70% completion percentage. 2,439 yards, 29 touchdowns, 3 picks.
Wow.
If that ain't a Bald Eagle Area record, nope. It's definitely a Bald Eagle record in everything. I bet you in completion percentage, yards, and touchdown passes. Cameron Dubbs, 882 yards, 15 touchdowns. And then his favorite receivers, you had Cale Burns, 60 catches, 810 for 11 touchdowns. Gavin Burns, 37 catches, 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. Cam Watkins, 34 catches, 499, 5. But my thing, Kenny, is to give love to what nobody's talked about all year except us. Bald Eagle Area's frickin' defense. Eric Clark, 54 tackles, 10 sacks. Alex Lefebvre, 63 tackles, 8 sacks. Cam Watkins, 42 tackles, 8.5 sacks. Colin Cunningham, 4 picks.
Yep. And let's not forget the big uglies on the offensive line. For them to be able to have a season like that, you've got to have time to do your plays. And the line has just been knocking it out of the park this year.
No, don't get me wrong. I mean, Bishop Guilfoyle has got good kids like Chase Kissel at quarterback, Caden Wyatt at running back, and they got 2 decent receivers in Gates and Riley. But I still think in the end, Bald Eagles defense is going to win out, and they're at home. I'm going to take 24-14 Bald Eagle Area.
Well, it's kind of funny to say, but Bald Eagle is peaking at the right time. I know that's kind of hard to believe with some of the games they've had this year, but that game last week against Penn Cambria showed, they've got a mission, and they won't stop until the mission's done. So I'm going to say
the only thing that loss to Clearfield did was piss them off.
Exactly, and that late in the season, it doesn't really hurt to have a loss like that to get the kids to rally around you again and refocus on where you need to be.
Right. Your score?
I'm going to say it's going to be 35-7, Bald Eagle Area.
Wow. Okay. All right, we go to Penns Valley, the 7th seed, 6-4, taking on their number 2 seed Richland, 9-1, ranked 9th in the state. The big 3 for Penns Valley was really a big 2 this year. Ty Watson had his usual thing, 1,474 yards, 15 touchdowns. Meyer, 53 catches, 644-7. But the thing that really shocked me, Romig, you talk about a senior year, what he did, and you remember sophomore and junior year. I was surprised when I saw his season-ending stats. He won only 1,089 yards and only 9 touchdowns.
Wow.
Yeah. Penns Valley, Richland, oh my God, their only loss is to Central, who's a brute too. They got I didn't know that. Richland has a freshman quarterback, Grayson Mulla, and they got a really good running back in Evan McCracken. This is going to be Richland. They are it took an exceptional Central team, the last game of the season, to give them their first loss. I'm going to take Penns Valley struggling in the passing game, so Richland's going to load the box up to try to stop Watson. I think it's going to be Richland, pretty much all Richland, and I'm going to say 38-21.
Yeah, I'm going to say, Penns Valley's got to have the perfect game just to stay within striking distance of Richland. Richland's going to be upset and ready to make a statement after that loss last week.
Yep.
So I'm going to say Richland 43, Penns Valley 14.
All right, and now the team that got hurt worse by a loss. Mount Union losing to Karn City. They came in the 4th seed in that game in District 6 and would have hosted a playoff game. Instead, they lose, and now they got to travel to take on 9-1 United, the 3rd seed. Both teams, this is going to be a fast-moving game because both teams like to run and run only. Mount Union had they averaged 286 yards a game on the ground, 43 touchdowns.
Jeez.
And United averaged 200 and they were 286. United is 267 yards. The difference is United only gave up 9 points a game this year on defense. And I think that long travel by Mount Union, losing that number 4 seed, that home playoff game, I'm going to go with United in this. I think it's going to be United 26-21.
I think this game's going to be a little bit lower scoring because both come in with the rushing. Main focus is the rush. I think that you're right with the road trip, the long road trip to United. I think that United's going to come out on top, and I'm going to say 21-17.
Have you ever been there?
No.
I've actually been there. It is a trip, man.
Really?
It is a long trip. Long trip. All right. Do we have any shout outs?
Yes, we do. I got about 2 weeks worth of them. So.
All right. Hold on. You know what we got to do. It's Kenny Varner. His shout outs. Feed the ducks. Go, baby.
All right. All right. The first one I got is Isaac Parks Gill with
that kick.
Yes, the kick that made history for the Huskies. Back-to-back playoff appearances and a rematch with Altoona. So he kicked 2 field goals in the contest, and like I just said, they extended the season for Mifflin County, and congratulations on some clutch play there. My second one, will stay with the team, is Mifflin County running back Deacon Schaefer. Schaefer broke the all-time single-season rushing title, and he also ran for 1,000 yards again this season.
Yes, he did. Great all-time leading rusher, all-time leading touchdown scorer in Mifflin County history with 29. So, and it's going to be. He's had a great season. It'd be interesting to see if he does football or wrestling in college. If he goes, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. The next one is hot off the presses. Today, Mifflin County 7th and 8th grade football team finished the season with an impressive 8-1 record. There's a name to keep in your mind for future as Jackson Strohecker, quite the running back down on that team. So just a name to keep in mind as we get older here. Congratulations to the Huskies, 8-1, 7th and 8th grade team. This next one is state college volleyball players, Sarah Tate and Jesse Campbell, who were standouts yesterday in their win over Mifflin County. The two helped the Little Lions advance to the next round of District 6 playoffs. While we're talking about that, congratulations to the Mifflin County Huskies volleyball team also for quite the memorable season.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, a great thing that happened. It pumped up the area for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and it was nice. It was nice to see that they got their first playoff game and they got to host it. Just came
Mm-hmm.
up a little short. I think Nurse probably got to him first time there,
Yeah.
but hey, it's good to see. She has 3 seniors on the team. Yes, they're good,
Mm-hmm.
but only 3 seniors. So Mifflin County will be back.
Oh yeah, and I think you just saw the foundation being built here the last 2 years, and from here on out, it's nowhere but up, even further. So yeah, I look for good things from this from the volleyball team in years to come.
Yeah, it's too bad they didn't get the coverage they deserve from the Sentinel.
So true, so true.
A little
Um,
blurb, a little blurb, but I'll get to that later. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay, this is a huge triple shout out to Bellefonte girls soccer players Kiara Whitman, Brooke Whitman, and Mackenzie Mamelin. Yesterday, um, the girls soccer team played Hollidaysburg in a marathon District 6 title game. With 1 minute and 50 seconds left to go in the game, Brooke Whitman hit the game tying goal. So it sent it into overtime. And they went into this first overtime, nothing. Second overtime, nothing. So they went to a shootout. First round of the shootout, um, goalie Kiara Whitman was faked one way, but saw the girl kick the ball towards the opposite direction, was able to get a foot on the kick and block it at the last second, saving Bellefonte's season. And then on the last kick of the game, Mamlin hit the game winner to give Bellefonte their first District 6 title ever in
Nice.
girls soccer. So congratulations to that whole team, but especially Brooke, Mackenzie, and Kiera.
Awesome, dude.
All right. Yesterday also, East Juniata boys soccer players Rhett Smith and Sam Kopacki, the two hit a game-winning and a tying goal in overtime to advance the Tigers to the next round of the postseason in District 4 action. Um, I think we kind of touched on this. The other Juniata cross country runner Wyatt Strout took honors leading and capturing the District 6 Class A championships. Um, Mifflin County runner Reese Cubison finished 11th in District 6 championship, punching his ticket to Hershey as well. And then Bowling Green's Kylie Cubison, who finished 11th at the MAC championships. She qualified for regionals that will be held at Madison, Wisconsin. And that is my shout outs.
I have a new one. Just happened.
Oh, nice.
Bald Eagle area won the District 6 Volleyball Championship, AAA, with a 3-games to 2 win. They won
Wow.
15-11 in the fifth game to win the district championship. And Kenny, you should see Doug Dyke trying to get up the steps of the gym. Holy God, he looks like us, man. So congratulations to Bald.
Mhm.
You know, they're used to winning, but congratulations to Bald Eagle area and
Yep.
winning the District 6 championship.
And second-year coach Zach Rote, he took over last season, and they hovered around 500, and this year they're right back to their winning ways. So it's great to see that team in the right direction again. So congratulations to all the girls and Coach Rote.
Awesome. All right, that's going to about do it for us. Any final words, Kenny Varner?
Just enjoy this crazy weather. Some great competitions coming up here Friday and over the weekend. So I'd like to give a shout out to the Keystone Football and Cheerlead as they hold their annual Super Bowl games this weekend at Mitchell Field. I'll be camping out there. So it'll be Saturday and Sunday, starting at 10 on Saturday and 11 on Sunday. So come out and see some of the future football players for the Huskies and the Indians.
And don't forget the District 6 PIAA cross country championships at the Parkview course in Hershey, right across from the Giant Center. That starts at 9 a.m. And Friday night down here in the Lewistown area at 7 o'clock, Mifflin County takes on Altoona District 6A playoffs.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, let's see everybody pack Mitchell Field. And for those going to the Juniata game, fill Klingensmith Stadium.
Yeah, they got a blackout for the Mifflin County game.
Nice.
I guess for this, it's a blackout, and you know that we talked about that earlier today. This is their last time in 6A for a while. The new classifications the PIAA came out with, it goes by enrollment. The football team is dropping to 5A next year. That means they take on their district. Consists of only Hollidaysburg and Central Mountain. So it's going to be a lot easier for the Huskies, where up here in Quad A, they have to compete against State College and Altoona. All right. That's going to wrap it up for us. We went long again, but we don't care. We have fun.
Exactly.
We have fun. We thank you for staying with us this whole time, those of you that did. That's going to wrap it up for my partner, Kenny Varner. I'm Brian Carson. Thank you for listening, everybody, and we'll see you again next Wednesday. Take care. Have a great rest of your week and an even better weekend.
Good night, everybody.